Bitcoin is seeing $2.3 billion in transactions and $1 billion in Coinbase withdrawals. Bullish signs, bullish news happening for cryptocurrencies, specifically for Bitcoin this week. We're also going to jump into the charts, and I'm going to let you know what I think is going to happen. There's two main scenarios that could play out. We're going to dive into that today and much more. Welcome, my free thinking rebels. My name is Stefan Subero, and I am the Holistic Growth Mentor. Thank you for joining once again for Decrypting Crypto. And we are going to really look at what's happening in the crypto space this week. We're going to see how bullish the crypto markets are in anticipation to the halving. We got 1 month, just 1 month. So I hope your bags are prepped. I hope you know what you're doing. And again, my free thinking rebels, let's jump straight into it. Let's see what's going on. So let's start off right here. Super bullish, and I'm going to explain why. Coinbase says that over 1 billion in Bitcoin has been withdrawn from Coinbase. This is a massive shift. Now, let's jump into the story. Then I'm going to give you my perspective on why this is so important. So, according to the report from the Whale Alert on the on-chain data tracker revealed that there is a significant movement in Bitcoin. Transactions in the past 24 hours, wallets marked as unknown has transferred an enormous amount of Bitcoin. These transactions exceed 2.3 billion in fiat value. They were carried out on 5 substantial transactions, showcasing the volatility and activity within the cryptocurrency market. Now, Coinbase sees billion-dollar Bitcoin exit. The smallest of these 5 transaction move was 4,799 Bitcoin. Another notable transaction, including the transfer of 7,452 Bitcoin. The remaining 3 transactions each moved over 8,100 Bitcoin, with the largest reaching 8,734, valued at approximately $560 million. Now, why is this bullish? When Bitcoin exits exchanges, this means that holders are starting to accumulate because they know and they see the price increase that is going to come. They're not planning to sell. They're not planning to sell their Bitcoin anytime soon. They remove it from the exchange in anticipation for what? In anticipation for the halving, in anticipation for the ETFs to continue to buy and drain the market, in anticipation for the retail investor to start jumping in when it's way too late, right? I hope you're not that retail investor, right? So this is why this is super bullish. Now, lastly, let's look at this. Long-term holders shift. And we talked about it a little bit. 90,000 Bitcoin amidst volatility. So Ali Martinez, a notable cryptocurrency trader and analyst, shared insights into the Bitcoin market dynamics. According to Martinez, over the past day, anonymous blockchain addresses have accumulated more than 25,000 Bitcoin. This sum, worth roughly 1.6 billion, represents the largest inflow into accumulation wallets in 2024 to date. This trend indicates a growing interest in Bitcoin accumulation amidst market fluctuation. So like I said, long-term holders, the whales are accumulating, not planning to sell. My friends, this should be the sign for you as well to be putting your Bitcoin aside. And again, this is your digital gold. This is what you want to be storing for value. Yes, this doesn't mean you don't take profits when the coins have gone up substantially, but ensure that you're not doing it too early. Ensure that you know where you're going with this. Now, let's jump into the cryptocurrency markets. Let's see what is happening right now. So we have on CoinMarketCap, we can see that Bitcoin has gone up in the last 24 hours, 8%. Ethereum is up 2%. BNB is up 4.6. Solana is up 8. XRP is down right now. Overall, the markets are starting to pick up. What is this trend going to see and how we're going to feel about it in the next week? We're going to dive into the charts shortly. We can also see that the Fear and Greed Index is still back up at 80. It was down to 474 last week. We're getting back into that extreme greed zone. Now let's look at the Bitcoin rainbow chart. Let's see what's happening here. Has there been any major changes since the end of the week? I don't think so. Like we said last week, we have come back into still cheap area. We had broken out into the hollow zone. Now we're back into still cheap. So please, my friends, this means that Bitcoin is still cheap. Accumulate, buy Bitcoin. If you do one thing during this bull cycle, maybe you don't know about the million other coins, you don't know about different projects, make sure you buy some Bitcoin, put it away, and wait for these zones, okay? Keep watching us, subscribe to the channel for the updates, and just by doing that, you can definitely take advantage of the market cycle and enjoy the benefits of what can come. Now, we're going to be analyzing this week. Like we said, the Bitcoin ETF flows from last week definitely were in the negative, which could make it a big possibility as to why we saw such a massive drop, right? We can see that GBTC was pulling a lot of Bitcoin. Was selling a lot of their Bitcoin. We can see here that the outflow definitely was much higher than the inflow. And again, this has been showing massive correlation with the Bitcoin price. Now, let's take a look at the charts, specifically Bitcoin. Let's look at what I think is going to happen, the two scenarios that could possibly play out. Like right now, we are below the all-time high, which again, creates a bearish sentiment. It also brings us into a bearish downward pattern. Now, two things that I can see right now, we're looking at the daily chart. We have been trying to break back above 68,000. We attempted here, we attempted here, and we got severely rejected. We came back down to the bottom of this ascending megaphone, and we kind of been supported up on this trend line. Now, the two things that have to happen, and I would say we have until probably the end of this week for this scenario to play out. Now, two things that can happen. Number one, we come up again, we get rejected, and we see a move back below. If we don't get supported here, look, I'm seriously seeing the 59,000, 60,000 zone as a next support, maybe possibly here. Yep, 60,000, definitely the next support if we do not hold this zone. Now, if we can get a clean break above 68,000 and then come back and get some support on this area, then that could potentially shift slightly the chances of us continuing to the upside. Now, we could potentially just continue ranging. We could create a range that we continue to follow. We'll have to wait and see, like I said, at the end of this week, based on this pattern that is formed right here, we have to see what breaks. Do we break to the upside and find support, or do we break back below this zone and find support lower down? I think the inflow of cash into the cryptocurrency ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs, that's going to be a big driver this week. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, another chunk of bullish news. Let's take a listen to this. Give me 1 second and shift this off. Let's make the change. Gotta make that change. All right, there we go. All right, let's listen to what's going on. Yahoo Finance, they interviewed a couple of high-profile people, and this is what they had to say.
This is an atypical setup that we have going into a Bitcoin halving, where you've got all-time highs that Bitcoin and the crypto market cap is trying to get back to, but Bitcoin has already struck.
Yeah, so historically, halvings are sort of become a focal point in advance because of the way that they reduce the amount of new supply, and that impacts price because of the supply-demand dynamic.
Simple supply and demand dynamics. When the supply of something decreases and the demand stays the same, the only outcome is that the price must go up.
Looking at prior halvings, there is usually a bull market, an extended bull market after the halving, regardless of what happens before. You know, beforehand, investors are trying to price in or speculate about the impact of the halving. But after it happens, it's like initiating a buyback program for a stock. Investors can take views on that in advance, but once the program begins, the company's out there buying back its own stock every day, and that has an impact on the market. And similarly with the halving, it will definitely have an impact.
A lot of these ETFs haven't even really started marketing their products to wealth advisors. You have very few wealth advisors that actually are recommending it to their clients yet. So we've yet to see the real kind of flow from alternative assets and just retirement accounts, pension accounts into Bitcoin.
Important, my friends. And again, we talked about this a little bit before. All the inflow that we've seen in the Bitcoin ETFs, this is an anticipation for these financial advisors, for these companies, for these groups to start allocating funds from their clients into them. And for them to be putting so much money in without this happening yet. And again, this takes some time, but it will come.
That will come most probably later this year, early next year.
And you have the halving coming up. And so at some point, late April, call it around April 20th or the 22nd, you'll cut the supply of new Bitcoin entering into the market by half. You'll start spitting out 450 Bitcoin a day.
Yeah.
And if you have this pace of demand, that should push the price up a lot. But remember, I would have never guessed that Grayscale would.
All right. So listen, again, very bullish, very simple, super simple. Supply gets cut in half from 900 to 450. The demand, let's just say the demand stays the same. We know it's not staying the same. We know it's not because the ETFs are buying it up. But let's just, for argument's sake, say the price stays, the demand stays the same. You will still have to have a price increase because of the lack of supply. Super simple. I hope that makes sense, my friends. Look, we're going to have one last look into X. This is an extremely bullish news from Cathie Woods. Let me just shift back out of where we go. Okay, here we go. Very, very simple when it comes to supply and demand. It's not rocket science. But let's take this last one from Bitcoin News says, just in Cathie Woods raises Bitcoin's price target from 1.5 million to 3.8 million. Look, listen, the price targets are getting insane again. I don't know what the time frame they're looking at, but this is possible. This is possible. She said that if institutional investors were to allocate a little more than 5% of their portfolios to Bitcoin, as we think they will over time, that alone would add 2.3 million to the projection, says Wood. My free thinking rebels, listen, very simple. At this stage, you are at that very, very strong crossroad. If you're not already involved in crypto and in Bitcoin specifically, then you could potentially miss the boat for massive, massive financial growth for yourself, your family, your community. Again, the only thing that I can do to help you is by letting you know that there is a link in the description. You can book yourself a 45-minute strategy call where we can kind of analyze where you are at on your journey and where you need to be. Reverse engineer the tactics that could help you get to your goals. That's all I got for you, my free thinking rebels. Once again, a pleasure seeing you all. I'll see you in the next video. Stefan out.